Okay, hello. So this is a tutorial for how to make the space laser for the electronics class. We'll go through some of the setup and the steps. So first thing we want to do is we want to change the dimensions of the artboard so that it's accurate to what we're going to be cutting. So we're going to go to File, and then we're going to go down to Document Properties and click that. Yours might look a little bit different depending on what system you're using, but you want to look for the measurement for the size. So right now it's in millimeters. We're going to change it to inches. Click that, and we're going to set the width to 24 and the height to 12. So it's 2 feet by 1 foot. Okay. When you have all that, then you can close that window. Okay, so in order to move around the space, I can click on the mouse wheel and I'll get the scroll wheel. I'll get this little icon here. That allows me to drag. If I scroll up and down. If I hold shift and scroll, I'll pan left and right. So left and right with shift, regular, just up and down. And if I hold control, I zoom in and out. So that's how you navigate the space. Click the mouse wheel and scroll with the mouse wheel. Okay, so I've got this canvas, and now I need an image to go in here. So you're going to go to your internet browser, whatever it may be. Go to Google, and let's laser weapon side view. And we'll go to images. And we are looking for an image that has a clean background and that it's facing this way. This is a bad example because it's kind of at an angle. We don't want that. We can also do something else. You could find a cool character. It doesn't have to be this. Okay, so we can, two different types. You could do an image like this where it's black and white, or you could find an image where it's kind of got more details like this. Okay, I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to right click on it, copy image, click that, go back to Inkscape, and I can right click, paste. I can also use the hotkeys, Control V to paste, and Control C is to copy. So Control C is copy, Control V is paste. Okay, I've got these two. I'm going to delete them. I only need one, so just clicking the delete key. And now I have this one here. So what's next? I need to get a detailed image for it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay. I'm going to go to Path, and there's Trace Bitmap. So under Path, Trace Bitmap, click that. Your window might look a little bit different. Mine has live updates. I'm going to turn that off so it's more realistic than the one you're probably going to use. So the important thing here is that you're on single scan, brightness cutoff, and you're going to just adjust this value and click Update Preview. So I'm going to get different values depending on how much I adjust this. And what I'm looking for is kind of preference. So I'm going to have, I probably want something with a little bit of dark and a little bit of light. So something maybe like this. I don't know. Let's go with that. It's kind of cool. So I'm going to click Apply. And if I look over here, I've got two images now. I can click and drag, and I'm going to bring one over to the side. So this is really good for details, but if I want to make an outline out of this, I've got some spots missing, so it'll probably not be very good. So I'm going to click back onto the original image, and I can increase this threshold quite a bit. Pretty high. Click Update Preview. This has a nice clean silhouette. That's going to work for me. So I'm going to click Apply on that. And now I have two versions that I'm going to use. So these are both really good. If I look down, I've got some of this text here, and I don't really want that. I can double click on the image, and now I've got all the nodes available to me. I'm going to click and drag a box over these nodes that I don't want, and just hit the delete key. So that gets rid of them. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to double click. I get all my nodes. I can do this individually too. Obviously, that's going to take a long time. So I'm going to click and drag a box, let go, delete. So now I've got my 2 images. So I want to make this one into just an outline. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to click on this object, and I go to path, and then I'm going to go down here to break apart. Okay, click that. You can see there's a bunch of little lines going on. There's a bunch of different shapes. That shows that it worked. I'm going to click off for a second, click over here, and now I can click and drag on the main shape, and I can pull it away from these other things. I don't need any of this stuff. I'm going to highlight it, hit delete, get rid of it. So now I just have a nice clean silhouette. With this, I'm going to now make my outline. So I'm going to go up to Object, go down to Fill and Stroke, click on that, and I'll get a new window over here. Right now it has a fill. I don't want it to have a fill. I just want it to have a stroke. So over here, there's going to be a little X. We're going to click on the X. My shape has disappeared, but it's still there. It just doesn't have a fill. I'm going to click on Stroke, Paint, and I'm going to give it a flat color. Click on that. The laser that we're using only detects a red at 100%, or at 255 value. So I'm going to click and drag this over here. Check to see if you're in RGB. There's a couple different options. It might not be there. RGB 255. Okay, make sure all these settings look like that. Then when you're done, you're going to go Stroke Style. This is where we're going to change the stroke. We need to change it from millimeters to inches. So click that. And then I'm going to change this value to 0.01 and hit enter. It's going to automatically add a 0. That's okay. I need these settings have to be exact for the laser to realize that this is what it's cutting out. So those 2 things are really important. Okay, next I'm going to have to start measuring out my parts, but I need to change this to inches. So if I'm looking at this, I can see the width of my gun is only 3¼ inches, and the height is basically just 2. So that's not going to be very big. We have about 12 and 6 to work with. So if I'm going to adjust this, I want to click on the lock here, and I want to change this to 12. Let's see what we got. And hit enter. This is actually pretty good. So I don't really want to be going over 6, so I'm going to just drop this down to 6. And that's going to work for us, for what we're doing. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to change this to 6. Because these images are slightly different, they might not fit perfectly. I can do a little bit of tweaking and just do a little bit of scaling. So I can grab on here. Maybe I'll do a little bit of squishing and stretching. Drag it down a bit. You can also use the arrow keys. I'm going to press the down arrow key once I have this selected, and I can sort of nudge it into place. Okay? Something like that. That looks pretty accurate. Okay? After this point, we probably don't need this image. So I'm going to just hit delete, and I'm going to move these shapes over to the corner of the page. This is when we're going to make our different measurements for our items. So if I'm going to make my potentiometer, I'm going to hold Control and drag out this circle. And you'll have to go in and measure this. I don't have the measurement off the top of my head here. But you're going to go and change these values to whatever it is. If it's a circle, you have to make sure these 2 values are the same. If they're not, if it's like this, you're going to have a weird looking oval. Okay? Lock that. And if I change this now back to 1.24, I've locked it. So it's going to adjust this one too. So you have to be mindful of that. Okay? These things are all connected. So you'll find out what it is. I know that for the push button, the red push button, we're going to make this 0.125 by 0.125. Okay. And it's also going to have the same characteristics. So mine are, oops. So this is too small. I want this to be 0.01 and the stroke to be right in there. So this is good. It's going to be quite small. It's a 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to take this, Control Z if you ever make a mistake. I'm going to drag it to somewhere over here. Okay. You're going to measure your other components. You're going to measure the slide switch, your speaker, your LEDs, and your PCB board. Okay. So measure those things. One other thing that we're going to have to do before we get ready is we're going to carve out this space so that we can actually put our finger in there. So we're going to use the Bezier tool. It's kind of like a pen tool. It is a pen tool. Select the straight line segments. What you're going to do is you're going to click, and it's going to make a line from point to point. So you can do this in a bunch of points, but we want to go over the trigger. We're not going to keep the trigger that's in the shape, because we're going to use our own. And we're going to click and sort of drag and make a shape. So we look at this. This doesn't look very nice to use, though, right? Like if I put my finger there, it's going to be kind of sharp. What we can do is we can double click on it and get these nodes again. If I hold Shift and I click and drag on one of these nodes, now I can start to round out that shape. Okay, I'm going to start rounding this out. And that's going to make it a lot nicer to use. Okay, Shift, click and drag. I also have to make sure that anything that I'm cutting through has to be these settings. Okay. Pretending that I have all those other shapes. Okay, you're going to have to make your slide switch. It's going to be roughly this size. Your speaker, control, I think it's going to be 1.39 roughly. I have to make them both the same. Okay, I got to make sure I've got all these things, and you got to place them onto your design. Once you have all those ready, you're going to go File, Save As, and you're going to want to save to a USB here. Okay. I don't have a USB in at the moment, but it'll say USB, and you'll click on that. Okay. Any questions? Come ask somebody. Okay, get to work.